I'm Michael Shapiro. I am the CEO and founder of thealternativepress.com. And during our first year, which was 2008, we launched in October of 2008, we were cash flow positive. In our second year, which was last year, we were profitable. We're actually the only profitable hyperlocal represented on the panel here tonight. And I wanted to talk about how it started. Basically, I was a white-collar defense attorney in New York. And I grew up in Livingston, New Jersey. And my wife and I, we live in New Providence, New Jersey. And my son, pictured there, is now 4. And I'd always been really involved in the community, but I couldn't be because I was commuting back and forth to the city. I was working 15 hours a day, and I couldn't give back to the community. And I thought that that was going to be my lot in life because today most of my friends are still doing that. But I kind of had a life-changing moment, and that was that I guess it was in April of 2008, we found out that my son needed open heart surgery. And it really changed my life. And I said, well, what can I do with the skills I have that could really make a difference in the community, where I could do something I'd really like to do, and where I could actually see my wife and son? And so in October of 2008, we launched the Alternative Press in Summit, New Providence, and Berkeley Heights, which are 3 towns in New Jersey. And at that point, we didn't have any reporters, we didn't have any columnists, we didn't have any salespeople, we didn't have any advertising, and we didn't have any readers. So people were kind of thought I was kind of nuts when I quit my job to do it full time, particularly in this economy. But that's what we did. And basically, over that course of time, we started hiring on reporters, and we started bringing on, getting a lot of readership. And fast forward now, basically, about 16 months, and we now had over 400,000 absolute unique users come to the site last year. We're now in 14 towns. We get about 50,000 unique visitors a month. We have a newsletter subscriber base. I mean, it's a free subscription of over 6,000. We have over 200 paid freelance reporters on staff. And interesting fact, 30% of our users access the site through mobile devices. When we first launched, it was about 10%. So that number has increased quite a bit. And about 30% of our readers are referred through search engines. One of the things I think that's important about the Alternative Press is we have advisory boards in all of our towns composed of business and community leaders who act as kind of ambassadors for the site. And people that really have their ear to the ground, who are able to communicate with residents and get the word out about what we're trying to do. We were actually the first online newspaper in New Jersey to be accredited by the New Jersey Press Association. And it's interesting because I was a reporter in high school, in college, and in law school, but I didn't go to journalism school. And I'm always the person on the panels who's always defending journalistic integrity and talking about how we need to pay all of our journalists. I was on a panel with an executive, not at AOL or anything, but a different major media corporation, having this argument about why it's necessary to pay journalists. But we adhere to all journalistic principles, and our site continues to grow in hits and influence. As I talked about, we have 14 towns currently on the site, and I wanted to talk about a couple of them in particular. And we also have 10 sections. We have 10 statewide sections for everything from arts and entertainment to food and wine to health and wellness. For our town sections, we cover everything from town council to high school sports to events and everything in between. The site also offers a business directory, a community calendar, free classifieds, photos, videos, columnists, and guest columns, and even real estate listings. In terms of our towns, though, we have, I guess, 2 unique things I wanted to talk about. One is that just last week, we actually launched in South Orange and Maplewood, New Jersey, in partnership with Seton Hall University, and we're really excited about it. And it's kind of a first in New Jersey, and perhaps first in the country kind of partnership, because advanced reporting students from Seton Hall University are our beat reporters in South Orange and Maplewood. And a journalism professor from Seton Hall is the Metro editor for South Orange and Maplewood, which is pretty exciting. And what we view this as is it's just really a win-win for everybody. One, it creates really good town-gown relations. It brings Seton Hall students into downtown so that they're shopping and shopping local, which is a really important aspect of the alternative press and something that we really advocate. And residents of South Orange and Maplewood now get to see Seton Hall students doing something really positive in the community and making a difference. And so we're really excited about that. The second model that we launched a couple of months ago is with the not-for-profit, the Center for Civic Responsibility. We launched with them in Paterson, New Jersey, and we're in the process of launching with them in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And in that situation, basically, they licensed the site from us to launch in Paterson first to bring hyperlocal news to underrepresented areas of New Jersey. Lower income areas where big media companies really aren't going to go. Paterson is a good example of that. And they hired on, former Star Ledger reporters to be the editors for Paterson and New Brunswick. And it's a really great model. And basically the revenue that comes in from those pages goes to help fund the not-for-profit and in their activities. So that's a second model that we're currently working on. We're in discussions with a number of organizations and individuals regarding other models that we're going to be bringing out over the next 6 to 12 months. In terms of our site, our projected growth rate over the next 3 years is 60%. As you see right now, we're in 14 towns, of which we operate now 10 of those towns, and 4 of them are through either licenses or partnerships. By 2013, we'll be operating, we project, a little over 35 towns, and we'll have, between the licensed towns and the partnership towns, we're going to have another about 35 towns. And the licensing of these town pages will also take place to local newspapers. A lot of local newspapers have terrible online sites. Some don't have online sites at all. And so they can come on board with us, with our platform, and have their own newspaper brought online with all the technology that we have for a fraction of the cost that it would cost them to start their own online newspaper or to even improve their online news site. And also the work that we're doing with the not-for-profit, we plan to expand with other not-for-profits in New Jersey, as well as more work with that not-for-profit. As many of you guys know, US online ad spending is projected to increase. This is from eMarketer, but Burrell Associates also has come out with studies recently showing that US online ad spending is going to dramatically increase. They're projecting from about $25 billion right now to over $35 billion by 2013. In terms of US local online ad spending, that's also taking a significant jump from about $4 billion back in 2008. Currently, it's about $6.5 billion to almost $8 billion by 2011 right now. In terms of, yes?
You said US local?
Yeah, local online ad spending.
What was the previous graph?
Online ad spending.
So,
Yeah, so basically that's, the New York Times, et cetera. Yeah, yeah, and, Facebook and, yeah. In terms of projected growth of advertising contract, this is for the alternative press. I know a lot of people here tonight want to talk about numbers and talk about business and models, so I wanted to kind of go in depth about this. Our average annual advertising contract is about $2,500. We have currently about 6 advertisers per town over the 14 towns, and we have an 80% renewal rate from 2009 to 2010. So basically what you're looking at is, our projection is that we're going to have well over 200 advertisers by 2013, of which slightly under 100 are going to be new advertisers by 2013. In terms of sales and profit projections, we expect our sales to grow by more than $100,000 annually with a consistent profit margin of 25%. That's what we're seeing year over year. So basically by 2013, we're projecting, just if we stay in the current 14 towns, that we're going to be over $500,000 in annual revenue, and that in terms of operating costs, we're going to hover around $400,000, and we're going to have a profit of over $100,000. Wanted to do a little comparison here, and I apologize because I used the 3 million unique users figure that Patch put out a couple months ago. I hadn't realized it went up to 4.3, but you get the sense of what I'm trying to talk about here. We spent about $170,000 on this past year, got about 50,000 unique users per month, equates to about 3,500 unique users per town over the 14 towns. So our cost is basically about a quarter. And when you look at what Patch is doing, they spent $50 million approximately in 2010. for about 3 million, now 4 million unique users, which figures into about 3,750 in terms of unique users per town at 800 sites per town. So they're spending about $1.39 per unique user. So basically, we spent a quarter of what Patch did to reach basically the same number of people. One of the things I wanted to stress is that the way that we're doing this is through creativity, flexibility, and fiscal efficiency. We're continuing to grow while providing truly hyperlocal news written by and read by locals who really know their towns. And I just wanted to close with that, we view ourselves as the David to AOL's Patch.com Goliath. We're the only profitable hyperlocal here today, and our business model works. Thank you.
If you multiply Michael's business by 1,000, you'll start to understand why we think it's so important to scale fast. The $50 million for 2010 was an investment in this year, next year. So you'll start to see those cost per users go down. But yeah, I love the math. I think Michael did a good job of showing why this is a real business. And if you take it to 1,000, to 2,000, 3,000, then you have something the size of Groupon, Facebook, Google, and beyond.